I recognize Ms. Mace from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome to the unofficial 2028 Democrat presidential primary right here on stage at the Oversight Committee. Governor Newsom must be seething. The three of you beat him to the stage, but he's a little busy right now defending illegals and defending Antifa, torching what is left of Los Angeles. Governor Walz knows the playbook. In 2020, he rolled out the red carpet for anarchists while Minnesotans watched their neighborhoods burn. You've turned your states into sanctuaries for illegals. You've done more to shield MS-13 than to protect the single mom working 2 jobs in Chicago, Queens, or Minneapolis. And you've worked harder against ICE than with them. So Governor Walz, and boy, does that feel nice to say the word governor, my first question is for you. Did you know the Nazis killed 6 million Jews during the Holocaust? It's a yes or no question. Did you know the Nazis killed 6 million Jews during the Holocaust?
Pushing my button down.
Okay.
Yes, I believe that's historic.
Okay, would you agree the Holocaust is the most horrific atrocity in human history? Yes or no?
I think the Holocaust ranks amongst them, yeah.
Did you know the Nazi Gestapo imprisoned, tortured, and murdered Jews by the hundreds of thousands and committed genocide against the Jews? Did you know that?
I do know they operated as secret.
Did you know ICE has done none of that? Yes or no?
Operated as a secret police force?
No, that's not the question. Did you know that ICE has not committed genocide against anyone?
Yes, I do know that.
Okay. Do you apologize for your disgusting comparison of ICE to the Gestapo, who killed hundreds of thousands of Jews during the Holocaust?
As a history teacher?
Yes or no is a question.
A historical comparison.
You're a governor. You understand what the question is. It's yes or no. Will you apologize for what you said about ICE, comparing them to
ICE to identify who they are when they operate, to not use unmarked.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, this governor, or honorable, can't answer the question. Do you believe the Nuremberg trials were a good exercise in holding the Nazis accountable? Yes or no?
I think due process.
Okay, so are you calling for ICE agents to be brought to a tribunal under the threat of death by comparing them to the Gestapo?
Everyone is afforded due process.
What don't you understand about yes or no? Like, what can't you comprehend about yes or no questions? Do you still want to abolish ICE? Do you still want to abolish ICE? Yes or no?
I said I wanted to abolish ICE.
Didn't you march in a rally calling for ICE's abolishment?
Not that I can recall, Congressman.
Well, according to widespread media reports, you did.
And the media is always correct.
How do you rate Kamala Harris's job as border czar? I want a number between 1 and 10. How was she as border czar?
I wouldn't have a way to measure that. I was not in the administration.
Weren't you her running mate for vice president?
As in the campaign.
And you can't rate her role as border czar on a scale of 1 to 10. Was she great at 10 or was she a 1? Terrible.
I think her proposal that she put forward to make sure we had the bipartisan immigration.
It wasn't bipartisan. Did you ever personally speak with Kamala about Joe Biden's cognitive collapse?
Not that I can recall, Congressman.
Not as her running mate for vice president. You never once talked to her about the president and why she was nominated instead of him.
No, not that I can recall.
What kind of operation were you guys running over there?
I was more concerned with Donald Trump's cognitive.
Thank God he's president and J.D. Vance is vice president and not you. Have you ever served in a combat zone, Governor?
I have not, Congresswoman.
Okay. Are you still friends with school shooters?
I have never been a friend with a school shooter.
Didn't you say you were friends with school shooters on the debate stage?
Oh, Congresswoman.
Yeah. Is bullying, my mom was a teacher. I'm a high school dropout. We can talk about that later. Is bullying okay?
Is bullying okay as teacher?
Is bullying okay, yes or no? Is it okay to bully somebody?
I think there's a time to push back at a bully. So yes, I do think there's a time.
So you think it's okay to bully others?
I think it's okay to bully the bully at times.
Well, you're showing that the Democrat Party is a party of violence. Were you at Tiananmen Square?
Have I been to Tiananmen Square? I have.
Were you at Tiananmen Square?
I have been at Tiananmen Square.
When were you there?
Oh, as I recall, January of 1990.
Okay. What is a woman? What is a woman is the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question here.
Well,
What do you want me to say? This is.
I want you to say that a woman like me is an adult human female, that men can't become women. You guys are the party of violence, and you're the party erasing women. You don't respect us. You're a bigot. You're a misogynist. You're a sexist. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Congresswoman,
good lady,
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
On Minneapolis, Mr. President, I have a follow-up for you. The state officials there have said that the FBI is not sharing evidence with them. Typically, they would conduct a joint investigation, as you know. Do you believe that the FBI should be sharing evidence with state officials in Minnesota?
Well, normally I would, but they're crooked officials. I mean, Minneapolis and Minnesota, what a beautiful place, but it's being destroyed. It's got an incompetent governor fool. I mean, he's a stupid person. And it looks like the number could be $19 billion stolen from a lot of people, but largely people from Somalia. They buy their vote. They vote in a group. They buy their vote. They sell more Mercedes-Benzes in that area than almost... Can you imagine you come over with no money and then shortly thereafter you're driving a Mercedes-Benz? The whole thing is ridiculous. So they're very corrupt people.
Moments ago, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz saying that he is responsible for any fraud that happens in his state at a news conference about Minnesota's paid family and medical leave program.
The buck stops with me on this, and that is absolutely true, but I want to be very clear on this too. If the buck stops with me on when there's problems, the buck stops with me on successes.
Walz is facing growing calls to resign over the scandal in his state a day after he announced he was dropping his re-election campaign. Alexis McAdams is live. She's been watching all of this from Minnesota. She's in St. Paul with more. Hi, Alexis.
Hi, John. It's cold here in Minnesota, but the White House is trying to turn up the heat here on Governor Tim Walz as they're looking into lots of allegations of fraud across the state. Yesterday, Tim Walz said he was going to take questions. He ended up just kind of reading a statement about why he was not going to run for re-election. But it comes as Republicans in D.C., John, say they have worked on a subpoena and they want Walz to come testify about what he knew and when he knew it about the fraud.
I think by Governor Waltz abruptly resigning or dropping out of the governor's race, I think that is an admission of guilt to the average American. He's going to be given due process. We do expect him to be in the House Oversight Committee. He will receive a subpoena. We've invited him to attend. We're following the normal process for issuing a subpoena, one which will win in court.
So Governor Walz dropped his re-election bid yesterday. Today, he took some questions at a press conference that just wrapped up. He told the press that he should also get credit for the good things he's done in the state of Minnesota, not just the blame, but that's just not how it works sometimes in politics, right, John? So he's also calling himself the most transparent governor in Minnesota's history, saying he held more press conferences, rather, than anybody who had the job before him. The main thing he wanted to get across to the media was that President Trump is trying to weaponize these fraud cases, and then said he talked to his family about it, and they decided this wasn't for him right now. President Trump says Walz was caught, quote, red-handed for his role in the fraudulent Somali scams across Minnesota, and Walz is not the only Democrat politician that the feds are looking into.
This is a concerted effort to try and destroy the president's opponents, to destroy the rule of law, and it became apparent to me that he was going to do that with me being there, and I just feel, along with my family, that it's the best decision for Minnesota, and I feel very confident in that. I think it's going to be clear that Minnesotans agree with that.
He has got to be one of the most deluded men on the planet. This guy, he has been caught red-handed, and he's panicking. He knows he's in trouble.
Okay, so Walz won't run for re-election, but is that enough? Some people are still calling here, critics, John, that he should just resign right now. Sources also telling Fox that Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison is under scrutiny here in the state as a newly resurfaced leaked audio clip from back in 2021 had Ellison on tape vowing to support a group, including now convicted defendants in a Somali fraud case. So this really kind of runs deep here in Minnesota. The Justice Department signaling more indictments are coming. Almost 100 people have been charged with felony fraud-related crimes since 2022, and nearly every single one of those people is Somali. So that's why we talk about the Somali community. At least $9 billion in fraud and counting here in Minneapolis and Minnesota area. Back out here live, Tim Walz is still going to keep getting those questions here, and this investigation is far from over. So we'll have to see if he shows up there where you are, John, in D.C.
Good morning, Molly. The Trump administration says they want accountability in Minnesota, so they've taken a series of actions that they say will continue until there's proof that the alleged fraud has stopped. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins is suspending nearly $129 million in USDA awards to the state of Minnesota and city of Minneapolis. She's highlighting the $250 million Feeding Our Future fraud scheme, which she says involved USDA funding. Rollins is now giving state and local leaders 30 days to hand her agency justification for the federal dollars the state spent from January 20th of last year to now. The Treasury Department is acting too. Secretary Scott Bessent says the agency is auditing financial institutions that help process funds in Minnesota, and it's also investigating 4 money services businesses in the state.
Our team at FinCEN has just provided formal notification to these businesses that they are under investigation.
But the administration is hitting a legal roadblock. Earlier this week, it froze $10 billion in federal aid for social services in 5 Democrat-led states, including Minnesota, California, and New York, over the concerns about fraud. A federal judge has blocked the move for now after state officials argued it could put vulnerable Americans in jeopardy.
If he doesn't happen to like blue states, I guess that's a personal preference for him. But what he can't do is use the law to punish people who just because he doesn't like them.
The block is valid for 14 days to give both sides time to hand in more extensive legal arguments. Molly.
Madeline Rivera, thank you very much.
The administration believe that Tim Walz potentially dropped out of the governor's race because he could be under criminal investigation.
I don't know if there's a criminal investigation. If there was, I wouldn't be able to comment on it from up here, to be honest with you. But I think Tim Walz probably dropped out of the race because he realizes he no longer has the support of the people of his own state. which is a remarkable downfall considering he was the number 2 on the Democrat Party's ticket just about a year ago. When it comes to Minnesota, the fraud that we have seen, the wide scale of fraud is really remarkable. It's egregious. I would encourage every single journalist in this room to go to Minnesota and to cover it yourselves. As for the Trump administration, we have officials who have been on the ground almost every day. Secretary Noem was there yesterday. Secretary Bessent will be traveling there later this week to talk about the fraud and to do a roundtable on this very topic. And I would just like to leave you with an update. To date, the Department of Justice has charged 98 total defendants in several Medicaid fraud and related case programs. 64 were convicted, and 85 of the 98 charged were of Somali descent.
Any insight into your conversations with the governor?
You know, Tim and I have known each other for years. We served in Congress together. We both ran for governor the same year and have served as governor at the same times. So we were colleagues, and we discussed what happened here today. We have 2 very different viewpoints of it. I talked specifically about the fact that we have laws. They need to be enforced. He knows that I believe sanctuary policies have protected criminals and placed a priority of them over the citizens that live here. And he knows we'll continue to do our work, and I encouraged him to work with us. We've never had a cooperative arrangement with law enforcement here. Whenever we've done investigations, whenever we've done police work, when we've been doing what we can to bring people to justice for the crimes that they commit, we haven't had the cooperation of the state of Minnesota or the city police here under the mayor's direction. If you talk to any of these federal law enforcement officers, they'll say that when they call for backup in a situation, that it's hit and miss. They were grateful today that the police chief and local law enforcement showed up at the scene and helped secure it to make sure that nobody was harmed and that the FBI could do their work. But I would encourage them to work with us, that we could form a partnership that would make sure that individuals have the opportunity to have a safe Minneapolis. Over here. You know, it's clearly established law that a vehicle driven by a person and used to harm someone is a deadly weapon. Deadly force is perfectly lawful when a threat is faced by a weapon. So I do believe that this officer used his training in this situation, and we'll let the FBI continue the investigation to get it resolved.
I wanted to read a quote from Tim Waltz earlier today. He said, "When things looked bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held the line for the nation on July 3rd, 1863, and I think we may be in that moment now." Can you comment on his rhetoric and Mayor Jacob Frey and whether they want to see unrest in Minneapolis?
Well, that's very tough rhetoric from a guy who just quit because his fraudulent activities have been uncovered. Look, Tim Waltz is a joke. His entire administration has been a joke. The idea that he's some sort of freedom fighter, he's not. He's a guy who has enabled fraud and maybe, in fact, has participated in fraud. That's what this new Assistant Attorney General position is going to find out. I don't care what Tim Waltz says. I care about getting to the bottom of this fraud for the American people, and I care about enforcing the nation's immigration laws. That's what we're going to stay focused on.
Unrelated question here. I mean, Democrats have accused ICE of murder. They said they're targeting Americans. They told ICE to get the F out of Minnesota. This is going to stoke the fire against ICE agents. And you're talking about ICE agents right now, being concerned about what, if anything, is the administration going to do to make sure these folks are protected during these protests? But also, should DHS sort of revisit their procedures here? I mean, nobody wants to see an American killed. Are there changes that need to be made to make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
Look, first of all, of course, nobody wants an American citizen to be killed. This is absolutely a tragedy, but it's a tragedy of the making of the far left. They have radicalized a very small segment of the population, taught them that ICE agents are engaging in wide-scale violation of people's rights. What our ICE officers are doing is deporting the millions of criminal aliens that were let in during the Biden administration. So number one, we have to say, as a matter of leadership, and I would appreciate if the Democrats would join me on this, let's be honest about the fact that we have way too many illegal aliens in this country. Our ICE officers should be supported in doing their job. You're trying to actually marshal the far left lunatic fringe to engage in doxing, to try to make it impossible for them to enforce the law, and in some cases actually to engage in acts of domestic terrorism against our law enforcement officers. When you talk about different plans, different protocols, different policies, I forget exactly how you asked the question. Here's the simple fact. What we're going to do is make it easier for the American people's administration to enforce the American people's law. And that means that Democrats have to stop rallying the mob against legitimate law enforcement operations. And that means that we are going to get tougher. And that's what this AAG position is about. We're going to get tougher at the people who are defrauding the United States by inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's
Here with me now, the most powerful Republican in the state is Lisa DeMuth. She's the Minnesota Speaker of the House. She's also running for governor, which is very exciting. Madam Speaker, thank you, first of all, for allowing us to, be out and about in the rotunda, and we've really enjoyed our time here. You've been fabulous. This was amazing today. Secretary Bessent was clearly more shocked after talking to people on the ground than he was when he entered the room. This is, I hate these cliches, but it truly seems to be the tip of the iceberg.
You are absolutely right. Thank you for being here tonight. And you're right. In Minnesota, fraud has gone wild. And we are finally getting the attention that we need to have a light shone on it. Having the Secretary of the Treasury here today was excellent.
Madam Speaker, Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino was on our show last night in the rotunda. And after he left, he was approached by someone, we didn't know who it was. We thought like, oh, was it a protester who had gotten into that particular location? And then we realized it was one of your colleagues. Watch.
I don't have strong opinions about the Second Amendment. I just care about
just the ones you want, right? And just those rights you think you need to care about.
Well,
but not the second. That's always the litmus test for you folks. Always the litmus test.
I just want people to be able to live in peace.
Me too. That Second Amendment does that.
Really? Well, all I've seen here in Minnesota is people dying, including children.
Mm-hmm. What about the lives that are saved by guns? You don't talk about that, do you?
Madam Speaker, who was that?
That is Representative Sandra Feist, and she is a current elected representative right now. And that is the attitude that you're seeing from Democrats here in Minnesota. We have law-abiding federal agents here doing the work that they need to do, and there's pushback from every level of Democrats here in the state.
So you're basically saying all that's happening here is people are dying.
That is untrue. Absolutely
I mean,
untrue.
we were way out and up in LeSueur, like an hour away. People are happy, they're working, the state is growing, they're looking for change, they hope some of the metrics for the state are getting better. And Renee Nicole Good was doing exactly what the Minnesota Democrats wanted her to do, Madam Speaker, because your lieutenant governor suggested something back in October. Check this out.
Our neighbors are being disappeared. P.S. Without due process, it is just called kidnapping. Then show up and use your voice. Put your body on the line and use nonviolent direct action, which is one of the most important tools in our toolbox to say, I am not okay. I will not go silently into the night.
Did you hear that? Put your body on the line.
That is dangerous rhetoric.
That's what Renee Good did.
That needs to stop. The rhetoric that we are hearing from top leaders here in Minnesota has to change. People can peacefully protest anytime, but getting in the way of federal agents, not supporting law enforcement, damaging buildings, and not peacefully protest is unacceptable here in the state of Minnesota.
Could this
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Fallon from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Governor Waltz, would you say that one of the most important things any governor, or quite frankly, any elected official can do is to keep their citizens and constituents safe?
I would, Congressman.
Great, I would agree. And I ask this because when I was reading your bio that you provided, nowhere did you mention the safety and security of Minnesotans or fighting crime or supporting law enforcement or, for that matter, the rule of law. So I want to take you back to 2020. You were the governor of Minnesota. There were summer protests. You referred to them as peaceful demonstrations. In hindsight, would you still stand by that? Were they mostly peaceful?
Congressman, after the murder of George Floyd on the streets, thousands gathered in the streets. Were there those that...
But, Governor, were they mostly peaceful protests?
The vast majority certainly were.
They
Those that weren't...
So why would you have to call out the National Guard for mostly peaceful protests?
They weren't all peaceful protests.
Okay, so they weren't, all right, mostly. So, Governor, the total damage in dollars, what was that in Minnesota for the peaceful protests?
I don't have that in...
All right, according to the insurance industry in Minnesota, they put the number between $1 and $2 billion, and your own state Senate put the price tag at $500 million. So if that's a peaceful protest in Minnesota, I shudder to think what a violent one would cost. Governor, I'd like to keep things simple.
Okay. I did not call it that. We had folks who were there, and they're in prison.
Okay, great. I'd like to keep things simple as far as when we talk about federal detainers, and I've talked to several federal law enforcement officials about this. So a detainer is issued when someone's already in custody and confined, jail, prison, court. It's not somebody just plucked off the street randomly, and there's really three conditions, and it's and/or probable cause that a foreign national is subject to removal from this country, final deportation order has been issued, or it's a foreign national that's been convicted of a crime and is about to be released. So sanctuary states won't cooperate with federal law enforcement. In Minnesota, do you cooperate sometimes, never, or all the time?
We follow federal law in all 87 counties and all jurisdictions. Some of them do honor detainer requests.
Some do and some don't.
That's correct.
Okay.
Counties have the ability.
Okay. So, Governor, would you commit here and now, and this is really simple, I think it's commonsensical, to compel state and locals in Minnesota to cooperate with all federal detainers issued by federal law enforcement when it involves a foreign national that's been convicted of a felony? And I'm talking about kidnappers, rapists, child molesters, murderers, predators, parasites, scumbags. In all those
instances, a felony being held by my state corrections, every time we call.
Every single time you're going to do that?
Every time we
in
call
Minnesota.
them and have them come pick it up. What I would ask you to commit to is, are you going to fund ICE's, what they don't pay us, on detainers?
Well, listen, on detainers and in ICE, I don't call them the Gestapo. And this is my definition of Gestapo, Governor. Real Nazis from 1933 to 1945 that facilitated and participated in the murder of millions. I don't call federal law enforcement officers Gestapo. You were recently quoted. Where's the apology?
Donald Trump.
Oh, no, Donald Trump didn't. Listen, Donald Trump's not here.
Yeah.
You are, Governor.
Yeah.
You're a big boy. Put your big boy pants on.
I would ask, don't wear masks, identify who you are. Don't pull up and
Governor, you called them Gestapo. Will you apologize for that?
And don't pull people.
Will you apologize for that?
Congressman, my job, I'm a history.
Okay, so you won't. Okay, we're going to move on. No, Mr. Chairman, I reclaim my time. If you won't answer the question. I think that's hyperbolic demagoguery. I mean, you said that in a speech, maybe you got a little carried away. I don't know if you apologize for that too, that you were, quote, going to kick Republicans' asses. I mean, I didn't say that. You said it. And that's dangerous rhetoric, especially when you use Gestapo. That's lazy too, and it's terribly inaccurate. The fact of the matter is, again, time and again, you've excused violence and you use dangerous, irresponsible rhetoric. and you can choose between being on the side of law enforcement or the side of vicious criminals, and you've chosen the latter time and again. I don't know why. Maybe it's because you want to impress your limousine liberal friends when you're eating wine and cheese, or you're getting your coffee every morning at the hemp store. I don't know, but I think it's ignorant, and I think it's culpable, and I think it's disgusting. I can see why the American people on November 5th made it a very bad night for you and a very great night for our future. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, Governor Waltz, you said that as long as you are governor, immigrants will be welcome in Minnesota. Do you find a difference between an immigrant and an illegal immigrant? A difference, their status?
Is there a difference? Legal status or otherwise?
Well, the legal status is different, but in Minnesota, we have a long tradition of welcoming.
Okay. ICE in St. Paul arrested a criminal illegal alien who had been convicted for possession of child pornography on a work computer. Do you still stand by your statement that ICE agents are the modern-day Gestapo?
ICE agents need to do a job, but they need to do it within the realm of due process and the law, wearing masks, no notice of who they are, no notice of the bans, and picking people up off the streets without that due process. I stand that is wrong and a road towards authoritarianism. I certainly stand by that.
You know, I have one rule. I have a couple rules in my office, but one of them is never compare anything dealing with the Holocaust except for the Holocaust. I think that it desensitizes people about what really went on in Nazi Germany by making any comparisons there. Does Minnesota receive federal tax dollars for any programs that assist illegal immigrants?
Minnesota's federal tax dollars are appropriated by you in Congress, and then we use state dollars under our laws.
During the Biden administration, nearly $1.5 billion was sent to sanctuary states to pay for their illegal immigration policies, housing, health care. Governor Hochul, are crimes committed by illegal aliens preventable, in your opinion?
Our law enforcement is highly trained in how to identify prospective perpetrators, but certainly we try to prevent crimes, and we also work to resolve them and make sure that if there's a crime committed, that people find their time in court and are incarcerated. That's how it's always worked.
By definition, illegal aliens are unlawfully present in the United States. They should not be here in the first place to commit crimes. Don't you agree with that?
It depends on the circumstances of coming over. I mean, there's civil violations, there's also criminals. So it's the federal government's determination on the status of an individual. If
If they're not here, the crime. Crime's not going to be committed.
I think if there was
If
not
they're not going to be here, ma'am, the crime is not going to be committed.
If there was no one in our country, no crimes would be committed. I suppose you could say the same thing.
A young man in my district whose family is very close to me lost their son to an illegal alien, and I can guarantee you if that illegal alien, if we'd followed the laws of the land and there'd been some enforcement, that young man would be here today. Well, let me ask you this. Why did your state issue say that you are welcome with open arms in reference to illegal aliens? That was a direct quote attributed to you, ma'am.
It's along the 400-year history we have in the state of New York of welcoming all. I don't know why we would change that now.
Okay, Governor Pritzker, you mentioned in your opening statement that criminals have no place in our country, but Cook County released numerous criminal migrants last year, including one that was charged with raping a minor. Why would you release a criminal rapist back into your community?
Thank you, Congressman. First of all, we don't need to release somebody if ICE or another law enforcement authority shows up with a judicial warrant. Then that's just the fact. And if somebody gets released, it's usually because they've had due process and determined not to be eligible to be held. That's
okay. But do you know what happened after that individual was released?
I don't. But again, a judicial warrant, if appropriate.
I'll tell you, 17 days later, he was charged with a homicide. And in Cook County, also released a migrant charged with domestic violence in August of 2024. Do you know what this individual was charged with 1 month later?
No, sir, I'm not sure what.
Aggravated criminal sexual assault and abuse of minor. And as governor, have you done anything to ensure local and county governments aren't releasing illegal immigrants charged with sexual or violent crimes?
As a matter of fact, first of all, we chase down criminals every single day. We put them in jail. We try them, put them through due process. They get convicted. They get put into our correction system. We do that every single day.
They try them and let them out.
Implying that we're not. We are. In fact, our law enforcement are some of the best in the country. They do their job.
Well, if these laws were enforced, then I would assume these people wouldn't be back out on the streets so freely. How many programs does Illinois have that explicitly supports illegal immigrants?
So we've created programs to deal with not illegal. I mean, we have one program that's related to undocumented people who are.
I'm out of time, but the answer is at least four. Health benefits for immigrants, HBIS, health benefits for immigrants. adults, HBI, Retention of Illinois Students, and Equity, RISE is the acronym.
Governor Waltz, as you're aware, Minnesota saw the largest COVID-19 fraud scheme in the nation. The so-called nonprofit Feeding Our Future falsely claimed to have served 91 million meals to children, for which it received nearly $250 million in federal funds. According to the FBI, the $250 million in federal taxpayer money was, quote, funneled into luxury homes, cars, and lavish lifestyles while families struggled. In March, 2 individuals were convicted in connection with this case, and I understand related investigation continues. The FBI stated that, quote, the egregious fraud uncovered in the Feeding Our Future case represents the blatant betrayal of public trust. The FBI will not allow criminals to rob federal programs and walk away unscathed. We'll expose their schemes, dismantle their networks, and ensure they face the full weight of justice. Do you support the federal government's efforts to bring to justice those who stole federal taxpayer money at the expense of hungry children in your state?
Thank you, Dr. Fox, wholeheartedly. And this is a great example. When the federal government works with the state, we reported it, they prosecuted them, they are in prison.
So do you support federal efforts to bring to justice those who commit federal crimes in Minnesota?
I most certainly do.
Okay. Does Minnesota honor ICE detainer requests?
Congresswoman, thank you for the question. I've been making sure I get my opportunity here. Minnesota follows all federal law. State law requires, and I would say the state law requires all state and county facilities to ask for immigration status when a convicted felon is committed and tells DHS if they're undocumented. All state facilities. DOC calls DHS before a convicted felon leaves prison. We have a controlled handover.
How can we be sure that your state is serious about cooperating with the federal government to enforce our immigration laws?
We do it on a daily basis, Congresswoman. And again, I say this is the floor. Counties can do more, but here's the confusion we have right now. Last week, a list of supposed sanctuary cities or counties were put out. Many of those were counties in Minnesota that had gone above and beyond. Their sheriffs said it put them at risk because they were doing that. They were sharing information and doing what they're supposed to do. It's a coordination issue.
But you said in your answer it's only if they've been convicted of crimes that
or a judicial warrant. Or a judicial warrant. That's correct. After due process has been served.
So that you don't cooperate if they're illegally here and the ICE comes to get them.
If they have gone through the process, Congresswoman, and they have received due process, and ICE's job is to come and get them. It's what I've been saying all day.
But if they're here illegally, then they're here illegally. There's no, they've broken the law already.
Many are here as asylum seekers. They've overstayed a visa.
I have another question to ask you, Governor. As I've said before in this committee, innocent American taxpayers are collateral damage in the Democrats' pursuit of open border policies. Americans pay with their wallets, their safety, and all too often their lives. This is unacceptable. I'm sure you're aware, Governor, that your state has spent hundreds of millions of state taxpayer dollars to address the surge of illegal aliens in Minnesota. Are you also aware of any NGOs operating in your state that provide services to illegal aliens, and have those NGOs received any federal funding?
I can't answer that at this time. I don't have it in front of me.
Well, we have to end the shameful practice of NGOs working against immigration law enforcement efforts. That's why I introduced H.R. 245, the Grant Integrity and Border Security Act, to stop NGOs who work against U.S. laws from receiving a single cent of taxpayer funds. Americans should never tolerate a government that uses their own tax money against them.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to point out that under Article 6 of the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause, that by declaring your states sanctuary states, you declared your intent to violate federal law. With that, are you aware that illegal aliens with known ties to terrorist organizations are now residing in the United States? That's a yes or no. Quickly, yes or no. Governor Waltz.
I don't have firsthand knowledge, but I would assume
You should
yes.
have. Governor Pritzker.
I know that's been alleged. I don't have firsthand knowledge myself.
You should have. Governor Hochul.
My Joint Terrorism Task Force has surveillance.
Ma'am, that's a yes or no. Either you know or you don't.
We are aware.
That's amazing. Considering that the Customs Border Patrol reported just in fiscal year 23, 736 encounters with illegal aliens with ties to terrorist organizations. And there's it's 2.2 million estimated gotaways. We have no idea how many known terrorists are in our country. Do you support the arrest and deportation of illegal aliens with ties to terrorist organizations? So yes or no? Governor Waltz.
If due process is given, certainly.
Governor Pritzker.
Exactly. We need due process before we arrest people.
Yes or no?
Anyone involved in a crime, we
Ma'am,
cooperate.
yes or no?
We cooperate when
Ma'am, yes or no?
We cooperate
We
with any
cannot
crimes.
give a straight answer, and the answer is you're giving safe harbor to people with ties to terrorist organizations. Are you aware of that? Let me tell you, you're shielding members of known terrorist organizations such as MS-13, Tren de Aragua, Brown Pride Azteca, Barrios Azteca, Serenos, which is otherwise known as SIR-13, and the 18th Street Gang. Those are designated terrorist organizations. These are the people responsible for bringing fentanyl in that's killed, along with other drugs, killed over 100,000 people per year. We're no longer in a war on drugs. We're involved in a war with drugs. These are casualties. Are you aware that the Department of Homeland Security identified over 400 illegal aliens who were smuggled into the United States with the help of an affiliate of ISIS? Are you aware of that, Governor Waltz?
Congressman, I don't have direct knowledge of that.
Well, I'll help you. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter to the record article from NBC News. DHS identifies over 400 migrants brought in the United States by an IS-affiliated human smuggling network. Is that a problem?
Without objection to order.
Does that raise any concern for you?
None of us want terrorists in this country.
Then why are you shielding people here from being picked up by our ICE agents, referring to this as a Gestapo organization? You know, I never want to get up on another morning like I did on September 11th, 2001. There are people in this country who are here with the full intent to do us harm. They came across our borders illegally. 358 of them crossed the northern border into New York. Not all of them into New York, but some of them came through New York. There's arms smuggling across the Canadian border into New York. And you're shielding these people. Are you aware that if just 0.5% of the estimated 15 million, 14.7 million to be exact, that came into our country illegally during the Biden administration, if just 0.5% are tied to criminal organizations or terrorist organizations, that constitutes more than the combined active duty forces of the Army and Marines? Does that not strike you as something that should be of great concern to us?
Since you raised New York, I'd like to answer.
Are you aware?
We cooperate fully with all investigations, particularly terrorists. I mean, you cannot say 9/11 and not invoke incredible emotion.
How do you know, Governor Hochul, that they're terrorists if you don't allow people to be picked up who came here illegally to at least give an account for the president?
We say
how do you know if they're not part of that 400 that we know came in through an ISIS-affiliated human smuggling operation? You don't know. You're not even looking into that.
You're pointing to an abject failure of the federal government to do its job to secure our borders. What I'm
pointing out here is that your sanctuary policies now constitute a threat to our national security.
We cooperate in all criminal investigations.
You are engaged in operations against federal government attempts to enforce federal law that I think now constitutes a threat to our national security, and you're in violation of federal law.
That's 100% false.
And charges for obstruction should be brought against each one of you for doing this. I'll leave that up to the Department of Justice, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Welcome to Minnesota, where every moment is an adventure. From the tranquil natural beauty of our waters to the rich culture of our cities, Minnesota is where unforgettable memories are made.
Go inside now! Get in the house!
Step into friendly neighborhoods that make you feel right at home the moment you arrive. Stroll through vibrant streets, soak in the energy of our dynamic nightlife, or indulge in a shopping spree at one of our world-class boutiques. And behind it all is strong leadership and inclusive policies that create a place where everyone can thrive. Minnesota, we're ready to be your next adventure.
Well, it looks like Tim Waltz will not be seeking a third term as governor of Minnesota. I wonder if it has anything to do with this whole fraud issue, which is taking place in Minnesota and a lot of other places, if we're being honest. Now, there's a lot of people that were out there saying Republicans will do nothing about this except fundraise. And that's certainly a valid complaint or concern, especially in some areas. But I want to point something out. A lot of the people I see talking about how much they love the Constitution don't understand how our system of government actually works. Just because we control the White House, the Senate, and the House doesn't mean you can roll around to any state and just start prosecuting people for violating the law. The federal government has jurisdiction over federal law. States have jurisdiction over state law. And part of the reason why you're not getting what you want in some of these states is because you got really bad attorney generals, Commonwealth attorneys, district attorneys. And so if you really want to see the sort of prosecutions that I think are relevant, you need to get more active in your state elections, not just the federal ones. If we're going to claim to love America and our system of government, we need to know how it actually works.